All right, we're live, waiting for Gary. Oh, here we go. Logging in a few minutes, he said. All right, so anyway, shaved today. Got a runny nose. I think I got an ear infection or something, so not good when you're trying to blow your nose and you got a beard, so that came off. Anywho, hope everybody's doing well. See a lot of our friends out there. Yeah, Lake Erie. I know. I was watching the Buffalo football game yesterday. They were, I think, 2 feet of snow in the Buffalo area from that lake effect snow. They were playing. They killed the other team. They like playing in the snow. Who else we got here? Let me go up to the front. We got David is here. We got Tom from Australia. Excuse me, JT. Mr. Clark. JT. Peter's here. Let's see. I don't know if anyone saw my little rant today about getting service for a cup of tea. That was funny. Not funny. I really wanted a cup of tea, but this lady had more important stuff to do. Let's see who else we got here. Excuse me. Let's see. Yeah, they're all 240, Tom. Everything's 240. I'll let Gary and Jim explain, but every generator made here, they're 240 generators. We just split it into two legs and used the 120, 120. You know, it's weird, though, because 240 use less amps, half the amperage, but... All right. Yeah, Gary said he's logging on, so he'll be here in a few minutes. James said he'll be in around 9, so another 25, 30 minutes. Gary is getting ready to log on. So, anywho, let's see, who else? Dave Krenitz here. Art's going to be here. No, he didn't get any. I don't believe he got any snow. I was over his house yesterday. There was no snow. No. Jim is here. Hello, Indiana Chris. Chris, it looks like you're like Mr. CB. I remember my call letters back in 1978. KFG 8186. That was my call sign. I was the grape ape. And people said, what's a grape ape? I said, a purple gorilla. Whatever. CBs were all the rage back when we were kids in the 70s. 18-wheelers, truckers, smoking the bandit, CBs. That was a hot thing back then. I am working, but today I took off because I was feeling a little bit under the weather. So I went to the walk-in, got a few drugs, and hopefully good to... Oh, my God, look who's here. He beat Gary.
I'm early. What can I say?
I was going to say, holy cow. What's going on?
Ken, long time no see.
I was going to say, it seemed like it was yesterday, you know?
Yeah, it seems that way, doesn't it?
Anyway, I was asking those that saw yesterday, we were talking about the aluminum wire and putting it together. And I guess Gary, and we could elaborate on it, but Gary was saying there's a special flux and solder for aluminum.
There is, and it's something I should really buy, but I have not, because I don't know. It's just something about repairing those. If I was doing it for myself, I would do it because you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
But everything that I repair, for the most part, I sell.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm always a little bit on the fence. Like, is this going to last?
Yeah.
You know?
I was concerned when I watched your other video that you sent me, and these guys will see it in the future, but the weight difference, if you add a certain amount of epoxy, would it affect the dynamic balance, you know?
I mean, yes, but I don't think, I would seriously doubt they balance those in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, so, and it's not, I mean, it's spinning fast, but it's a very close or fairly small diameter. Like,
have you noticed any balance holes in the fan or anything?
Never.
Because usually that's what you tell. You see balancing holes and things like that.
Yeah, it's not like a crankshaft. I don't think they really care. You get a bearing on each end. If it's a little off balance, oh well.
Yeah. Now, on most of those Chandas, are they actually bearings on the end or a plain bearing?
Ball bearings.
They are ball bearing. Okay, so they'll take
it.
I'm thinking
so
there's a lot of leaf blowers just have a plain bearing, you know?
I mean, from that point of view, they're not bad. They actually have ball bearings. They have a balanced shaft. You know, a lot of other engines that we love don't have that stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, simple is better usually. There's less to break. But they are made well, just not the quality is a problem sometimes.
Does James read and respond to his own comments? I would assume so, unless he gets 17,000 the first hour. You know,
I get a lot. Yeah, I get a lot of comments. I used to do it all the time, and I can't do that anymore. So, you know, when I release a video on Thursday, I usually stay pretty tuned in to the comments on that video, or really any comments that day. But then outside of the Thursday release, I don't pay that close attention. Unfortunately, I just don't have enough time.
sometimes I'll act like a watchdog too, and if I see something, hey, did you see that? You know,
Yeah, and actually, I made my wife a moderator, so sometimes she responds, and I'll see someone responding to one of her comments, and I read what she wrote. I'm always she just responds to the simple ones like thanks for watching, you know, things like that. But you really need an army of people at this point to respond that know, you know, about this stuff.
I just want a little disclaimer here. When we were on yesterday, it was my channel. It wasn't Jim's, and it was more of a just having fun. I mean, Jim's video, one guy made the comment, "Oh, they had no editing, this and that." That's what it was all about. It was about goofing with my friend Wayne, about giving us something that didn't need anything. And here's the thing I want to point out. Tom in Australia said to us, if I didn't pull the starter rope a second time, you pulled it the first time when we had the spark trigger and it was yellow. At that point, if I didn't pull it, we would have taken out that spark plug immediately thinking something was wrong. But when I pulled it faster, we got a green light, so we didn't think anything was wrong with the spark. So Tom said it was just James pulling it, and it was a little slower, and it got the yellow. We would have taken the torch out right then and there, and who knows if we would have saved time or whatever, you know?
Maybe. I mean, does a spark checker, does it actually check the plug, though, or is it just checking the coil?
Usually just checking the coil.
Yeah, but if you look at the way what the lights mean sometimes, Tom, you're in here. I know you're up. I see. There you go. Tom, can you come up, Tom? I'll put the link out if you want to explain this. Here, hold on. Let me throw the link in because Tom knows that better than anybody. Hold on. Let me see. Here's the link if you want to come up.
Live, though, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, lives are really tough to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And, you know, the quality, you know, I actually couldn't use proper lighting, couldn't use proper audio.
Well, the sound of the compressor, right? I mean, just
that I always cut out. You know, I never have probably, you know, I've let the compressor run, but yeah, I mean, there's no choice when you're live. You gotta wait. You gotta hear the compressor. You gotta wait till I find the right socket. You gotta wait till I find the right tool. And
you need a compressor with a bigger tank, so that way it only cycles every 20 minutes or something.
Well, I got an auxiliary. The compressor I have right now, I actually bought years ago because I made a contraption to make snow, and the compressor was a key component. So I didn't size it for a lift table. You know,
what'd you do? Blow water into cold air to get snow?
I made something which
like
I
they
haven't used in 10 years.
Like the
let me show you.
Right?
Hold on. Yeah, let me grab it. You actually need a pretty big compressor, like at least I think 5 CFM.
Sorry about that.
Or better.
Hey, is your camera messed up there, Ken? Because I could barely. Doesn't look right on my side.
Let me.
It looks right on mine.
Let me wipe it. Hold on.
I don't know. It looks like all jargoned on my side. I figured I'd try to leave it and then come back in, but maybe it's on my side.
Okay. Hold on, Jim. Let me put you in there. Oh, yeah. Like what you see at the ski resorts.
Yeah.
Air goes in there, water here, and you have 3 nozzles.
What do you spray? I mean, do you have to have it like 0 degrees out, or what's the?
Yeah, probably in the teens or less.
Now, what'd you do that for? Like White Christmas, because you had to have a White Christmas?
It was something to do. It was before I had the channel. Had a little extra time. The kids wanted something, so I tried it. It made more ice than snow. You know, it was like sleet. But anyway, so the compressor's not sized right, and I'm just going to run it into the ground. I got an auxiliary tank, which at least I can lift it up once without the compressor turning on.
Yeah.
But if I want to do it any more than that, I do need to, turn it on. That one you see right behind me there, that is a Jenny compressor.
Mhm.
Beautiful compared to what I have. Like, I need to get something like that, but electric. Here, want this so you can hear?
Everybody's saying hello. Anyone who has questions, just throw them in the comments, and we'll try to address them.
Can you hear?
Got him. Yep.
All right,
I'll just
come
look off to the side a little bit.
Hello.
My daughter wants to say hi.
Hello.
Yeah. You've helped me with this stuff before.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes. You remember when
I
you
wish my kids would help me.
last?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's helped me clean some generators.
Yeah, my
They're pretty
kids are
messy.
adults, they don't care anymore. Anywho, all right, where's the questions? Let's go.
She just wanted to say hi. Bye.
That's awesome.
But you were saying, Jim, yesterday how on the 5500 that issue with the wire is common on that particular, was it on the GP series?
It seems to be. I mean, if you go back and probably look at any Generac video I've done where it doesn't make power, and it's a GP series generator, it's the rotor that goes out, including the one that's releasing on Thursday. It's broken in exactly the same spot as the one we did the live stream on yesterday.
Seems to be a common problem with that one.
Yeah.
Now, you were saying a rotor stator combo is what, $800?
At least from Generac, yeah. And they don't sell them separately. I don't
they
think.
sell the whole power head, right?
I mean, even at $400, it would be a hard thing to swallow, but at least it's probably half the price of buying new. But you could buy a used one also for that price.
It's not
in which
worth it.
case, why bother?
Yeah.
Other than keeping it out of the trash.
Right. I mean, for the high THD that it produces, why bother? You might as well find it used.
Find it used. Find a generator with a blown engine with a Honda clone.
Yep.
You probably get it for free or no more than $100, and there you go.
One guy had asked me that we see the generators say 3,500, 5,500, 65, 75. A 5,500 in and of itself, what can you really power with that, though? I mean, are we talking like your refrigerator, your boiler? That's about it? I mean, what are we really talking?
No, you can power a lot. I mean, I have a 5,500 watt inverter for my house, and most of the time I'm pulling around 3,000 watts just with 3 refrigerator / freezers, all the lights, TV, everything on.
Isn't it the startup that kills you, the startups?
It's the startup, yeah. Inverters don't handle it well, but yeah, I have a variable frequency drive well pump. So my old one wasn't like that. So if I wanted to turn my old pump on, I would have to turn everything else off and then flip the breaker and cross my fingers. And it always did it, but you could tell the generator was not happy about it.
Yep. Have you thought of putting a soft start on it?
Well, no. I thought about it, but I ended up getting the pump, the well pump that actually ramps up its speed slowly, so there's no surge.
Oh, variable speed.
Yeah, so that works great. I don't use my central AC with 5,500 watts, and with the variable speed pump, I can pretty much do everything else.
Is that more of a VFD then?
Yeah.
Variable frequency drive stuff start. There's a question there. I don't know what. Let me see.
That's what I'm looking at now. I'm looking off to the side here.
Yeah.
Governor issues. I've replaced both governors and the caps keep falling.
Oh yeah. I think I spoke to Joe, and or maybe he emailed me. I'm not sure if I responded or not. Sorry, Joe, if I didn't. But yeah.
What was he referring to, James? What cap?
The governor, right, is a gear with 2 or 3 weights or 4 weights, whatever, And in the middle, there's a little plunger cap. So that cap, I'm pretty sure on Hondas and Honda clones, I don't think anything holds that cap in other than the paddle.
Yeah, we call it a hat because it looks like a hat.
Yeah.
Like a top hat.
So if you were to move the governor arm out of the way and spin the engine,
It'll
that
fall
cap
right off.
might launch right out.
Okay.
So if it keeps falling off, I would say that the paddle isn't against the cap when you start spinning the engine for some reason.
Yeah.
Or maybe the arm is bent a little and not actually touching the cap.
Yeah, I've seen that on some old Tecumsehs as well, the VLV series. The cap or the hat, if you will, would dislodge and it would just freewheel. Yeah.
And actually, I'm going to be looking at the that Champion again, the Champion with the really poor governor response.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. See if we can get that fixed.
I don't know what's wrong with it, but I did call Champion and order a new spring, which I've got. And they're supposedly sending out a new governor gear as well. And I don't know if it's, honestly, I don't think it's either of those things, but someone else suggested potentially the arm that goes against the hat might be off center and maybe things aren't
moving.
Because that engine blew up originally. So there were pieces flying in there. So maybe something bent. But the governor itself, when I was in there, looked brand new. So it would be hard to imagine it as the problem. But just a lot of governor droop on that machine.
Too bad. And you did a lot of work to it too.
Oh, I know. I was so ready to be done with that one. And I almost sent it. I'm like, it's most generators will droop about 5 hertz, right? So that's okay. If it was 6 or 7, I'd say, okay, it's not great, but it's whatever. This one's 10 hertz. True.
Yeah, it's too much.
That's a lot.
Yeah, Tom is asking if you ever spend any time with small engine Mike down. They're Jersey, I think.
Yeah, I wish. He's maybe Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
or Jersey.
5 Road King, those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't, but actually, someone I know south of me actually has a lot of vintage stuff. I did a video actually. He was fixing a big Generac, and he had an old hit or miss engine, and he had an old Kohler 4-cylinder power plant that was like 4,000 watts for four cylinders. It was crazy.
It's huge. Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
But Rob knows Mike, and actually they go to some of the same events. So it'd be nice someday to meet him. But I have never met him, and he hasn't. I wish he'd do videos again. I really enjoyed his stuff.
I know it's been a while. Him and Dirt Bike, Daddy Dirt Bike, all those guys. Yeah. We got. Do you see much electric motor problems with Honda generators and inverters? What do you mean by electric motor problem? Like smoking a motor or something?
Usually not a problem with inverters.
Yeah, it's clean.
But the surge might be a problem.
Oh,
because inverters typically they only surge like a few hundred watts and then they're done.
Yeah. They're not designed for that, whether it be a low frequency transformer or a high frequency switching. They're just the inherent design of one. Yeah. You're not going to be able to get that much surge unless you're not going to surge beyond the continuous wattage is what they're getting at.
William's asking about soft start. I mean, we install VFDs all the time at work just because, right. And we have old electrical supply, and it doesn't make sense to blow them up all the contactors all the time. So we install VFDs. But do you guys want to explain what a soft start actually is? What it does?
Yeah, I'll let Gary go on this one. I think you have a better understanding.
Well, there's I have a little experience with the central air systems because I was thinking of putting one on my 5-ton unit, but mine's the old R22, so it's got a hard start capacitor on it. But a soft start basically it's like a VFD where it uses transistors to slowly ramp up the current. So instead of getting 100 amps of starting current and maybe
where your lights dim in your house every time.
Yes.
It goes.
Yeah.
It does it for like a half a second, and then it goes back down to like 23, 22 running amps at 240 volts. Well, rather than 100 amps of that instantaneous spike to get that compressor spinning, it'll bring it down to more something reasonable like 40 amps or even 60 amps, which is a lot easier on the motor. So they start the
will that increase the life of the motor, Gary, over time?
Should, yeah, because you're not heating up those windings as quickly, where everything thermally expands so quickly that you could actually wind up shortening the life of the compressor. And it's just, you don't want to hear a huge bang.
Every time mine comes out. Oh yeah.
No, I mean it's an old R22 unit, and I think eventually, when it has to be upgraded to a 410A, which is the more common refrigerant and far cheaper, I probably would put one on there just for like the $300-400. It's worth the investment.
I have R12.
Okay, R12 is even worse.
Yeah, we put it in 1994. It's still going.
And it's still going. Hey, that's great. I hope mine lasts a long time.
And my buddy who does AC, he says, "Don't touch it. Don't touch it."
I'm not touching mine either. I put the delay. So I kind of do. It's like a soft start, but after, you don't want to short cycle an air compressor or air conditioner or anything like that. You want to give it a chance for the low and the high sides to equalize before you start it back up. So I put a timer delay, so every time it shuts off, it's not going to turn on for another 7 to 10 minutes. So that way it gives it a chance to restart with the lowest amount of starting current. It's better than nothing.
What's this here? Just bought a Champion open frame gas only inverter.
Yeah.
I
don't know the specifics on that one, but I will say inverters, they do use CDIs instead of the traditional kind of coil where a magnet passes it.
Yep.
So it is a little different, and most inverters don't need battery power for the CDI to work, but I have noticed that sometimes they can be a little more finicky to get started if you're not pulling it fast enough. And it's conceivable. I mean, some CDIs are DC powered instead of AC powered. So if you have a DC powered CDI, is it being powered by the battery?
Right.
I don't know. Hopefully not. But yeah, I would take the battery out and try it. See if it'll start or spark.
Yeah.
Do any of you guys use it for your central air system generator?
Generator?
Yeah.
I could, but I don't have that soft start, so it would definitely not be able to start a 5-ton unit. My biggest one is 7,000 watts continuous, and it's well beyond what it's rated for. If I had a soft start, like a micro air, that hasn't blown up because they've been having problems with the micro airs. And
really, because I'm looking to buy one for mine for next year.
There's a certain model and serial range that you need to get, because anything earlier than that, they've had the internal capacitors blowing up. So be careful with the micro airs. I've been watching that every now and then.
But will it hurt anything in my system, or will it just blow up on its own?
It'll blow up the micro air. It won't necessarily blow up your central air system. What's happening is I don't think they use very good quality capacitors, and the large capacitors inside are blowing up. They're literally blowing up its top, and it won't start the air conditioner. So then they have to take it out and then bypass it to the hard start capacitor kit again in order for it to get going. But then they can't use their generators because they can't handle the inrush current.
All right, here we go. Our favorite Coleman Power Mate with a Briggs 19G engine that will only run at idle. Once up to speed, it surges bad to the point of shutting down. Jim, didn't you play with governors on that one time?
Yeah, so I would say first try applying choke to see if it improves it. If it doesn't, then it's not fuel. It's likely the governor spring is in the wrong spot.
Yeah,
so the closer the spring is to the closer the spring is to the shaft that goes into the engine, the more sensitive it is. So theoretically, it'll be less governor droop or less RPM sag when you go into load. But if you have that spring too close, what happens is the engine slows down too much. The governor slows it down too much, and then it speeds it up too much, and it just oscillates between the two. So I would definitely try the choke. Even if it does not improve with partial choke, if you can't find a sweet spot, then move that governor spring further away from the shaft.
But even setting the governor, most people don't know how to set up a governor.
Or do a zero governor setting.
Yeah, but would that wouldn't cause surging. That would cause overspeed, right? If it was out.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wouldn't be the correct speed. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
That video that you did though, where you actually adjusted it, does it have that wording anywhere in the title, or is it just something you did to solve it? I'm trying to steer him in the right direction.
Oh, for people, yeah, okay. So I do have playlists, right? So I do have a playlist called something like Governor Adjustments.
Okay.
So it'll have, I don't know, 10, 15 videos where they're probably hour-long videos, but somewhere in that video, I'm dealing with governor issues. So that'll help steer you at least to videos that might be applicable.
Okay, cool. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see, might be fuel. Yeah, but for fuel though, definitely choke it to see if fuel is the issue. Westinghouse dual fuel. Gary, you worked on those, right? The Westinghouse.
Yeah. Yep. Those are nice for decent machines. I mean, there are certain models, again, high THD, but they run well. They got a lot of good features.
Yeah. But Joe, not just the arms, though, the position of the hole, the sensitivity. That's the main thing.
Well, no, was Joe the one with the hat that was flying off?
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He replaced the arms on the governor link. Yep. All right. I'm mixed up.
Yeah. No, it's just important, though. You have to reset the governor and make sure the governor arm is right up against that hat or plunger or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, yeah. Especially on brakes. I've done it where I put the top down and it fell off. The arm like slipped. But normally there's part of the casting, though, that will guide the arm so it can't go left to right. But for some reason, I must have missed it. And when it closed, I turned out, oh, my God. JT, where do you guys learn your craft? I bought a tractor in 2000 off a guy that was trading it in, and it needed rings and valve job and all that Kohler K series. And my neighbors would see me out in the driveway playing with it, and they'd say, "Hey, do you fix stuff?" And I'm like, "Well, I could." And that's what started it. That was 24 years ago.
Yeah. For me, I knew nothing about small engines until about 6 years ago. So I shouldn't say that. I didn't fix small engines until about 6 years ago. It was just, I had learned a lot, mostly from watching other people like Musty One and others.
How about Big Clive?
Big Clive, yep. So like I watch a lot of educational things on YouTube. I don't watch stupid shorts. And I'm sorry, YouTube. You'll probably be demonetized now, but I don't watch shorts. I don't watch videos that are for entertainment. I watch things to learn about the problem I'm trying to solve. And, it's like that with this. If I hit a problem I don't know, I'll Google it. I'll watch videos on it. I'll read about it and form my own opinions, or I'll call Ken and be like, "Ken, what do you think?" Or Gary, what do you think?
The funny thing is, years ago, when I first started, the internet was fairly new, and we had the Chilton books, the Haynes books. We were looking up stuff in the books. We didn't have all the. I mean, we had Smokestack and a couple other areas to visit, but it wasn't like it is now. You could find a video on nearly anything.
You can, and you can find a lot of manuals online. Like I have tons of manuals right there.
Yeah.
I never have to open them, unless the internet blows up and then there's no YouTube anyway. I probably won't need to open those because you can find really what you need.
What's Randy saying? If a lawnmower engine backfires, can that potentially knock the valves out of adjustment, making the engine? Well, normally, though, with a backfire, 90% of the time, it's a sheared flywheel key.
Yep.
And usually you'll see because it will rip the handle out of your arm when you try and start it. But the first thing we check is the flywheel. I mean, set it for top dead center. And sometimes on some engines, you could actually take off the flywheel nut, and you could see if the key is sheared. But Hondas, Woodruff key's halfway down. You got to take the flywheel off.
Yeah, it shouldn't hurt your valves. If anything, it'll blow up your exhaust or your airbox.
Yeah, I mean, it may knock the adjustment. Who knows? Maybe it'll loosen a poly lock or something. Who knows? I don't know. It could, but not much. All right, another Westinghouse. What do we got? Dual fuel inverter that has never seen gasoline. Test started on propane. Now it's back in store. What's the question, Art?
Did you? I guess a question for Art, actually. Did you break in the engine using gasoline?
Good
be honest,
yeah.
All these dual fuels and these tri-fuels that you're finding on the market today are gasoline engines that are converted to run on alternative fuels. They are not dedicated gaseous fuel engines like a propane or natural gas.
The rings won't wear in, will they? We're using just propane.
Very properly, correct. You need to run it on gas at least the minimum of 3 to 6 hours. Varying loads and
I use non-detergent oil when I do that, just so you get all that friction and all.
You don't have to necessarily just change the oil.
I use
5 to 6 hours.
I don't use non-detergent, but I do use non-synthetic. Just regular.
Correct.
And it doesn't really matter. Who knows? But a lot of cylinders too are honed in such a way now too that they're kind of broken in, but you don't know that for sure. But if you're honing a cylinder at home, then you have to break it in, which is going to be a lot of break-in. But if it's machined right, there'll be minimal break-in.
Yeah, when you hone it yourself, you got a pretty rough crosshatch in there, and
you do. It's very rough compared to what would be done professionally. If it was done that way. So
winter prep on a dual fuel like that.
On a dual fuel.
Dual fuel. I mean gas. I mean
gasoline.
Propane, it's clean.
It's clean. You can't get it to run dirty. Just keep the gasoline out of it.
Yeah, I would say make sure you have the right oil in it in case you have to start it when it's cold. And I usually pull the engine over manually until you start to feel compression. Then the valves are closed. It might minimize rust inside the cylinder. You still could rust, but I think the biggest enemy is for something sitting around is just condensation.
The
try
fuel
to keep it
your favorite.
Yeah, it messes up the fuel tanks, but it can mess up the engine too if you get rust inside it.
Yeah. Jim was asking that lift you got, Jim. Do you know the brand of it? Is it a special brand? That one?
There's no branding on it. It was given to me, and the guy sent me a link to where he bought it, but I couldn't find it on that website. So I don't know for sure what it is, but if you Google Redline lift,
good one, Art,
you'll see one that looks exactly like it. They have a lot of lifts, actually. There's a few that look similar. So it may be a clone of a Redline. It could be a Redline, but there's no stickers, there's no branding, there's no model. It's just a lift.
Yeah, it's a good size, too. It's a real nice size. I think, Joe, you mean inverter. What a bad inverter.
No.
Cause engine surge.
Yeah.
It's not impossible.
Well, what would be bad in the inverter?
It's usually the stepper motor. It's the controller motor.
The inverter controls the stepper motor. So if it completely lost its mind, sure. But I haven't seen that yet.
Very remote. I haven't seen that either.
Let's see. Hold on. I'm trying to catch up with the comments, everybody. We got a lot of people in the house. 69.
Yep. I'm trying to respond to a couple of them too, guys.
How high is too high?
But
GPs aren't known for THD.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, most generators are just the same as the GP 7000. It's surprisingly rare. If it's not an inverter, I'd say 90% of them are 25% THD or worse. Maybe a little better now. I'm seeing some advertising lower, like what's that brand? It's blue. I forget the name. It's not Westinghouse.
Duramax.
Yeah, Duramax is advertising a lot. Pure copper, low THD, but I haven't tested one, so I can't vouch for that. But so far,
not down to 5 though.
No,
no, but I don't know what they are exactly, but a lot of generators, they're around the cleanest traditional generators are around 5 to 6% that I've seen,
which is NEC.
And a lot of actually like the Briggs storm responders, the ones with not the AVR, they're just basic, kind of like the same generator that the Generac XL series has.
Mm-hmm.
Those are not low, but they're not high. They're kind of in between. So
when you say non-AVR, you mean the capacitor type?
Yeah, where it's just unregulated. So it'll be the voltage will be like 130 volts without a load, 110 volts fully loaded.
Yeah.
So there's a voltage swing with those,
Yeah.
but you get cleaner power. So it's kind of, I'd rather have cleaner power because a lot of things can handle 130 to 110 volts better than dirty power.
Most.
Good.
That. No, as I say, that modified sine wave inverters, which are not as common now, to put it into perspective, 25% THD is a step square wave or a modified sine wave. Where things get really bad, a square wave inverter will be about 48.3% THD, which you never see in a portable generator. But at around 25%, a lot of the active power factor corrected power supplies. And what I mean by that is all your modern computer power supplies that run pretty much everything that in our daily lives, even refrigerators these days, your propane fired furnace, all those control boards run on some sort of switch mode power supply, and it will eventually overheat the components inside because they're just not designed to handle that much heat for too long. It may run for a short term, but not for the long term. And that's really the issue. A lot of the older power supplies from, say, 25 years ago, so they just had a very large inductor and a very large capacitor. It can handle a lot of that extra PhD without any problems because they were just converting it to DC anyway, taking the AC and converting it to DC. But now all that power factor correction is done with the microcontroller, and that little tiny chip can't take a lot of heat.
Yeah. I see Motorhead's comment. That reminds me of three-phase. You talk about delta versus Y.
Yep.
Three-phase. I don't know what he means by star delta.
Our delta. Are we talking like, is that stuff like dog leg? The WYE. I don't know.
We had an issue at work where it wanted delta, we had Y, and it over voltaged, because it wasn't the right three-phase coming in. Yeah. Let's see what we got here. What happened to we used to say cycles instead of hertz? Yeah, but hertz is cycles per second.
Yeah.
That's what hertz is. So it's not exactly the same. A cycle is a cycle. Hertz is cycles per second. So,
different metric.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Damn physics.
Start capacitor can be increased by. Now, am I saying it micro or mega? Micro.
Microfarad.
Micro. I always get that wrong, and people nail me to the cross about it. What's up, mega? It's micro.
Yeah, larger capacitors like microfarads are usually rated in that. Really tiny capacitors like picofarads or nanofarads, really small.
Joe, let us know how you make out with that.
Yeah, let us know on that one because I'm curious to see what serial number range that you get. Like I said, there's a Facebook group out there that testing a lot of those micro areas over in the Houston, in the Texas area. And if something were to blow up, that's the first place that micro air is actually monitoring to look for the failures to see if they can correct it. But they've been kind of losing some marketing traction because there's just been such a high rate of failures for them.
Gary, what you did on yours, is it similar to what Randy says, or did you do it yourself with this timer?
So it is a delay on break type of timer relay. So I did add that in. So the control board that runs my thermostats, yes, it does have a built-in 4-minute delay on break, meaning that once it shuts off, it waits 4 minutes. There's a countdown of 4 minutes before it would ever try to re-engage the outside compressor. 4 or 5 minutes for an older system probably needs a little bit more time. Maybe the newer systems are a little bit more forgiving, but I added an external. I did a YouTube video. It's an ICE-203, something like that, where you can actually manually adjust the dial, and I just put it in line with the compressor relay. That way, if it does call for it before that timer inside the control board turns on, that little manual delay device I put in there, it's kind of like extra insurance, at least until I get a new system. I may take it out, but I've been beta testing something from EWC Controls in New Jersey. So far, it's been working great.
Joe, we're assuming you checked for vacuum leaks before.
Yeah, I mean, any kind of vacuum leak can cause a lean condition, even like a valve stem seal potentially. 8 The Honda engine. Okay. Yeah, that's a nice generator. And actually, I did get another Vanguard V twin for that other North Star, the one that had the failed cylinder that had snapped a rod a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't know when I'm going to get to make the video though. Stuff keeps showing up, so I feel bad because I got the engine probably right after making that video, and I just have not circled back yet. But I will.
Yeah, you said as little as 3 minutes. Okay. Hold on. That's a good question. I would say yes, but
Yeah, by design they do. It's running pulse width
They
modulation. Yep. The better inverters have actually more pulses and dots per second to make that sine wave. Some of the more basic ones, look not as clean. You got some of the light jagged edges there, but the better ones like the Hondas and the Yamahas will have more of those pulses to make a really clean sine wave. No more
now
than
isn't
3.
it? We had talked one time going back. It goes from AC to DC to AC to DC to AC, right? Is it going back and forth?
Not that many times, but yeah.
No.
The generator is a permanent magnet generator. It creates 3-phase AC, high frequency, and variable speed. So that's why the engine can speed up and slow down.
Yeah.
It's not like a traditional generator where you have to, where the rotor is an electromagnet. I mean, an inverter is purely magnets spinning around a coil of wires, and it's creating 3-phase AC with changing frequencies, and that is fed into a rectifier, so you get DC, and then that's fed into the inverter where you get a nice clean sine wave out, 120, 60 hertz, or whatever output is needed. So it probably loses a lot of power in all those conversions, but that's ultimately what you do. And something I was thinking about, which I haven't done, but I saw someone do it, and I'm like, I got to do this. I have an extra engine. You could connect a car alternator to it, connect a car battery, connect an inverter. It's not going to be quiet. It's not going to be fuel efficient, but it will be clean.
Mm. Well, I've seen people plug in their Grand Cherokees and use that to power the refrigerator.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. There's no reason why you can't do that. You might burn a lot of fuel doing it. Yeah. I don't know.
I see people do that all the time too, but the only risk to that is that you have to keep the engine running. The alternator needs to keep charging starter batteries. Starter batteries have very thin plates inside, and they do not have a lot of reserve time, and they're pulling a lot of amps at any given time.
Well, they don't, and most cars probably have an alternator that's like 70 to maybe 150 amps.
Yep.
And that's DC. So, I mean, if you convert that to AC, you're talking like 2,000 watts at best.
Yep.
And most car alternators, you don't realize it, but it's like a generator. The 70 amp rating, that's not continuous.
Nope.
So, I mean, you're not continuously pulling 70 amp loads.
No, is that a max rating?
That means it can do it, but it's going to eventually overheat and melt down if you do that for however long, so, keep that in mind if you want to build a inverter generator from a car alternator. You're going to be pretty limited to how much power you can make without burning out your battery or your alternator.
Yep. Run dual alternators. I see them do that too.
Yeah,
the
you
big
can do
diesel.
that.
I see do that. Here's another plug for microair. I do want to try it. Gary, send me that information you have on microair. I'd like to, so I know if I get the wrong serial number.
I'll have to find it. It's in the group. I'll have to find it for you. I'm not trying to bag on them. I was really wanting to get them. $385. I don't want it to blow up within, halfway through the summer, and then I'm going to be cursing and swearing at it.
Yeah. He can start a 5-ton with a 10K propane.
That's believable. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Let's see.
Soft start's the key.
It is. As long as it's built right.
Yeah. No gasoline. And my buddy Craigie in Ohio. Yeah, I started small. Like I said, my small engine, I always played with them as a kid, but I really got into it in 2000 because I I bought a tractor that needed a ring job and needed a valve job, and
Yeah.
and I couldn't afford to race cars anymore because I had kids. So, and it was a lot easier on storage and money in a race car.
I think I started out of necessity. My RV generator was acting up. It was very random. No own-in dealers around. I'm like,
No one
I'll
in.
figure it out. Yeah. Oh yeah, I own an RV. Oh, RV repair business.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I worked on that
Should
green
have driven it to you.
generator that's underneath the motorhome.
I've worked
Yeah.
on a few of those. Those are not fun sometimes.
I hate the fuel pump and filter. I hate.
Well,
I could agree with that. How to change
they're
them.
nice, but they are very compact. Like to change a spark plug, it's like good luck.
A guy called me up and wanted me to change the fuel pump and filter within an hour because he had to drive out west and he was leaving in an hour. And I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah, you got to order that.
Yes.
The fuel pump too, at least on mine, is underneath, which is nice. So you can at least, you don't have to pull the whole generator out.
Yeah, this one I had to pull the whole rack out. It was a pain in the butt. But he wanted me to get it all done within an hour, and I didn't even have the part. He goes, "Oh, you don't understand. We're going cross country in an hour." I was like, "Well, it sucks to be you." So,
your emergency does not constitute my priority.
Exactly.
Right. Buy a Honda inverter.
What is safe to plug into AVR and brushless?
Yeah. So again, it depends on the generator. I mean, I've had the cleanest ones I've tested besides inverters have been brushless generators. I've tested a few that have been 5%.
Yep.
So, but they cost more, and they're not your average Honda clone. They're actually made well. So, and like your home backup generators are probably the same way. They're a different cost tier, and they are cleaner for the most part than cheap portable generators. But like I do have a playlist too on clean traditional generators, and there's a few there. Like the Generac XG series is clean. There was some Campbell Hausfeld. I always say that wrong. Generators, which I think actually had Winco generators on them, which were also clean. We have the what was that one? It was made by Gillette. Gentron? No.
Gentron. I know what you're talking about. Gillette is a really well-known brand. High end.
I really liked that generator, and that one I was fixing for someone. But if that was one I was, fixing, like one that I bought, I would have kept that one, as a backup, because it was powerful, and it was clean, and it was so simple. All I had was, I think, one capacitor. No fancy electronics. It was just a good, solid engine with a good, solid generator, and there's something to be said about that. It's just very basic and clean for what it was.
Yeah, see here. 13K Durham. Yeah, Duramax come a long way. They used to be like cheap ones years ago.
Yeah, and they're made overseas. I mean, the quality control has been pretty decent. Very popular.
Yeah, Jim, how did you get into the oscilloscope thing? Did you buy that, or did someone offer it to you?
No, I bought it. They're not expensive. I mean,
battery-powered ones are not.
You can get an automotive battery-powered one for like $30.
How do you like a picture of it on your video though? Does it give you a picture? Or do you have to take a camera?
Well, that one I specifically got because it had that feature built into it.
Nice.
Because I know it's very hard to see out in the sun. There's the glare and just the brightness. So I don't even try to show the screen because you can't really see it that well. I just take a screenshot, download it later.
JPEG or something? What's it do?
Yeah, it's like a JPEG or picture format.
Yep. The load bank, yeah, that's a massive. You got a good deal on that thing.
Oh yeah, it also doubles as a computer stand. See, it was a good investment.
Oh yeah, I love it though when you're coming up on max and the engine's like, bah, 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 bah. Oh boy.
I know. I used to never put them under max load, and people are like, why don't you do that? It's like, well,
You don't want to smoke in
it's
there.
not good for the generator, and it's not good for the load bank if the generator falls on its face. Plus, I might uncover a problem where I'm 500 watts short or 1 horsepower. You know, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go for missing 5% of the rated power? You know, like it's one of those things like I hate doing because it's just bad across the board.
How would you advertise that? I've seen you change numbers if you've changed the heads.
Change, yeah, like the rating.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
you got
I'll
a 7,000 watt and it only goes to 6,500. Would you tell the customer that or no? I mean, I know we're getting to ethics and all that, but I'm just saying,
yeah,
how many people actually go that high?
probably not. You know, and it has nothing to do with anything other than I know it's a good running generator.
Yeah.
And you should not be pushing it right to the last 500 watts and expect it's gonna hold.
Even if you don't know
can,
what the wattage is or
even
anything.
if I can hold it in the test, if you keep running it like that, it's not going to last for very long. So, I mean, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah,
pretty much. But if it can't get close to the rated, then yeah, I'm gonna sell it cheap and say, yeah, it's it is what it is.
let's see.
But I sell most of mine cheap anyway. I got to get rid of them.
You got quite a few in there.
We need a good snowstorm or good power outage or hurricane or something.
Yeah, but most of these are still waiting for repair. You know, like I have a lot in the storage locker. Actually, my buddy Jason, he must have like 15 of them waiting to send over, and you know, he dropped off like 8 a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, don't do that again because I can't walk. You know, I'm like, drop off 3 or 4.
Jim, you've seen my shop. Forget it. I can't walk a foot and a half without tripping.
Right. And I can't come out here and efficiently even set up a tripod without spending half an hour moving crap out of the way.
Yep.
It's just
I'll be honest. I've been to your house now, I think 3 or 4 times. This is the most full I've ever seen it.
Really? Yeah. Well, you haven't been here enough then, because it's been pretty full. And
from to the back.
My storage locker is full of projects, and Jason has a bunch lined up, which is great because now I don't have to find it. And the stuff he finds, I would never buy. Like it's just such a mess, but it makes great videos. So
how many square feet is your storage locker? What by what?
10 by 20, I think.
Wow, that's a good size. That's the size of my garage.
Yeah, it's basically a garage.
Yeah. Huh.
I could park my car in there.
A Thomas. 4000 EXL, or is that your
It's one of my favorite old ones.
Same here.
That's not the blue one, is it? It's like a blue color.
No, it's the red.
It's
red and black. I have the 7000 EXL. Yeah, I mean it goes for very cheap. It's a very well built motor. Got a spin-on oil filter.
Are we talking like 90s for that?
Yeah, probably like mid 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah. And that's a good one. Like if people want a good generator that's cheap because it's old, then EXL is the way to go. But you're going to have to do some things to it to get it back to where it should be, because they're old, they're aging. They do have issues with those pins kind of corroding, and you know, they're tiny little pins that corrode that control the voltage. So you'll have a few things to work out. Gary fixes the boards too, but that's the biggest weakness that I see in them is just the boards and the pins that connect the boards together. Yeah. Otherwise, they're great.
Randy, I disagree there. Cycles is cycles. Hertz is cycles per second.
Oh, hertz or cycles per second?
Hertz or he's saying cycles and hertz are the same.
But isn't
No,
cycles a more general term to just
cycles
describe?
is the cycle. Hertz
Right.
is cycles per second. Hertz is a rate. Cycle is a value.
Yeah, but it has to be a value over time, right? Cycles.
No, it's just it's a quantity. How many cycles?
Hertz is the name of the guy that actually discovered the concept. So it's the same thing, cycles or hertz.
But I mean, when I went to engineering school, hertz was always cycles per second.
Well, cycles per second is you're talking about a value, you're talking about a metric. A metric is hertz per second, cycles per second. It's the same thing.
Hertz per second. No, there's no such thing as hertz per second.
Hertz are always expressed in seconds.
It would be cycles per second squared if it was hertz per second.
So are cycles, you can do different units, and hertz are only in seconds?
I mean, that's what I learned in engineering school, unless I'm wrong.
It might be true. I've never looked into it.
Never looked into it. I've always thought they were. I would think like what Randall is saying.
Frequency is hertz, which is cycles per second.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying what I learned 40 years ago in engineering school. I don't know. Anyway.
Might be outdated.
Engineer versus tech.
Okay. Anyway, but they don't call me Mr. Know-It-All for nothing. Anyway, let's see. Amp probe. What is this here?
That's I already answered them.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, you have the 54 nav, right?
Yeah,
and I have the 52 nav.
Rated up 1,000 amps, and then the 52 that you have is rated up to 600. Same exact features otherwise.
Anyway, that's it. We're caught up with the chat. Wow. We're at 56 minutes. We got anything else out there, guys? We'll wait a few more minutes. What are you working on, Gary? You got a lot of repairs coming in?
A lot of snow blowers. I got one, and I was I think I told you guys off camera. It's a Craftsman snowblower. It needed a carburetor clean out, trying to get it off, and the choke lever, the choke knob, I was trying to pull it off, but it's a plastic shaft that goes down to the carburetor. Well, trying to pull it off, and I broke the plastic. I'm like, okay, I have a bunch of junk carburetors, and I should be able just to replace that because they usually give you a new one when you get a new carburetor. Well, the ones I had didn't fit, and it's this specific one that is removable from the carburetor without having to take out the choke flap. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I sent you. That's the one I broke the top part of it. And
it's just where the knob attaches, right?
Yeah, so I broke the top little piece there, and this thing is like corroded beyond belief. It was definitely left outside. Hasn't really been taken care of. But
how do you release that knob properly? Do you just pull it, or are you supposed to put something in it first?
I use a screwdriver underneath and pry it.
No, I used to do that, but that's what caused the problem.
Oh, pried it at an angle and bent it off, broke it off.
Yeah, so I broke it off at the angle. So I used a little bit of prying force, actually what I wound up doing to get the little plastic piece out, thinking that I could fix it, was to take a little punch through the center and tap it, and then I was doing that, lifting up the red knob, and that's what got it out.
How about the trim channel pin pliers with the two U-shaped forks in it? You know, for those pop pins.
Yeah, I have plastic tools as well.
Yeah.
And working on that, and then I got another 3 snowblowers coming in. We're already we're booked out into January at this point. I mean, 3 is about the max, and then the holidays roll around, and then you can't get parts before the holidays. So I'm not taking any more than that, and already people are complaining that they're trying to find because we're supposed to get a little bit of snow around here in the Northeast, and it's small, like a dusting to 2 inches. But the snow starts falling, people start panicking. Oh, my machine's not running. But I say to people, where were you in the fall time? Where were you even in the summertime? Plan for your emergencies instead of reacting to the little bit of a dusting.
It's just human nature, though. It's like no one wants to buy a generator unless they're, without power.
Yeah. Then I can relate, Joe, because I went up Gary's house. The last time I was up Gary's, I brought a generator where I did the carburetor, this, that. Gary takes off the panel, and it was like Mickey and Minnie had a field day. It was like, oh my God. If I just pulled that panel off first, I would have said, don't leave here without this generator, take it home. But I spent like hours and hours and hours, and It was every wire was chewed. Every wire.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that was something. Oh my god. He took some things on the camera. And Gary's like, "What the hell happened to this?" I was like, "Eh."
I mean, it's people don't take care of their machines, and then they expect miracles to bring it back. I mean, and that's what makes, to me, as another small engine guy watching James's videos, that's what makes it so interesting to watch. Not even it's not just listening to your very calm voice that's collected and being able to and to watch it concisely. It's just like you see this pile of metal that is it should have stayed at the scrap heap, and then you see it breathe life into it, and it's like, wow. That is just so. It's just so. You can't look away. It's so interesting to watch. But
what's the story, Jim?
What?
With the shirt? Any story?
Oh, this?
Yeah.
No, it's a nice place I visit every summer, and I've got a couple sweatshirts and a couple shirts that all say the same thing. But yeah, I have a small rotation of clothes I wear when I'm working out here. And I love this sweatshirt. I love the place.
You got those nice heaters too, those Mr. Heaters. I like those.
Yeah, they're both running right now because it's cold out tonight.
I'll say it's reasonable though. We calculated about $1 an hour for each one, roughly. It wasn't too bad. $25.
The little buddy heaters that you
got? Similar, but they're the bigger version. They actually use the grill tank things.
Mr. Heater.
Oh, those are awesome. Yeah, I got the
propane tank right in the back.
Yeah, I had one for years, and that one stopped working, so I bought another, and then I realized it was the tip sensor that was bad. So I bypassed it, and it works great. Just don't tip it over.
Huh. I got the two big buddy heaters, and I got a 20-pounder that with the Y adapter, and that's what it keeps the garage. It's like 30 degrees or less outside. Keeps it at like 75 easily.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's super powerful. But
Thomas, you could just do 2, Thomas, as long as it's 4. 2 will keep it imbalanced. Doing the paddle trick with the rubber. Yeah, 2 is okay. I do that on most of mine because that way people can snow blow slush and not have to worry about it icing up.
I did that to my John Deere one where the impeller mod, they call it a flapper mod.
Yeah.
It spins at like 600 to 900 RPMs, but for a single stage, you could still throw it about 35, 40 feet.
Yeah. Let's see. Here we go. Troy built Tiller video inspired me to buy one. Yeah, the old ones that were made actually in Troy, New York. Yeah. Back when it was Garden Way. Yeah, those were nice.
Those are nice machines. I mean, the gearbox alone, you would never see a tiller with an actual transmission built like that. I mean, maybe you would, but you'd spend a ton of money on it.
Yeah. Once MTD took them over, it went to shit. Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Yep.
Let's see.
Don't build things to last anymore.
Funny you say that, Matt. We talked about that one time.
Yeah, look at my community tab. There's photographic evidence.
Yeah, there's a picture of Mr.
Kenny made that.
Mr. Boss. That's funny.
We sent it on a text message one time.
Uh-oh.
Oh, he's talking about your rant.
Well, I screwed up. It wasn't Dunkin' Donuts. It was Starbucks. I didn't know that.
Knock on donkeys.
It was more.
How could you not know?
It was more about service than the brand. I don't really care about the brand per se. And my wife drinks 3 cups of Dunkin' a day. But this lady, 5-6 minutes, and finally she's like, "Can I help you?" I'm like, "Well, I don't see any tea anywhere in the boards. Do you have tea?" She unearths this. It looks like an old nut and bolt display with tea bags on it. Blow the dust off of it. I'm like, do I really want one of these? Right? And you know what she says? Oh, yeah, let me know what you want. So I go, yeah, can I? Oh, no, sorry, honey. I got to finish this order. And I'm like, okay, 7 minutes. And I'm like, she goes, can you come back? I've been there 13 minutes already. And there's no one else in line. It's I end up going into the tea aisle. They had Bigelow tea on sale, $4, box of 40. I bought 2 boxes. I went home. I made my own tea. Oh, God. Anyway, it was just today I go to Duchess, my favorite, right? Everybody knows I go to Duchess, right? So I go to the girl, can you change a large bill? Now, this girl was never there usually during the day, only there in the morning. Only there at night. So I see her and I said, can you change it? Yeah. So I give her the $100 bill. All right. So she goes in the back and the bill was $11.57. All right. So on a $100 bill, it changes $88.43. Okay. She gives me $68.43. So I go to make my coffee and I go, 20.46. I go, honey, you shorted me. What do you mean? I go, do the math. Let me see your receipt. So she grabs the receipt. I go, 100 minus 11.57 is 88.43. Oh. And then she goes, these kids can't count.
They're doomed.
Unless the cash register says give them 1 nickel, 3 dimes, blah, blah, blah. They can't do it. You know, it's unbelievable.
And their socks and count their toes.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Treble tiller after seeing James. Yeah, I love the old. I sold mine to, in fact, Wayne, my friend Wayne. He bought my Troy built horse, my big one, 8 horsepower Kohler. But the thing is a tank. It weighs about 450 pounds. It's
Perfect for a tiller.
That thing will dig through the hardest of hard pan. It's built like a tank. Yeah. All right, we're caught up. It's been an hour. You guys got anything you want to talk about? Otherwise, I'll end it here.
I don't know. I don't have a whole lot, you know.
Unless there's any more questions. I mean, I don't know. You know, as far as what I'm working on now, my God, chainsaws. I got that one I picked up on Thanksgiving Day for $10.
Wow.
That Poulon. It's called a Explorer 2 Craftsman, which is basically a Poulon 25, and it's got the auto sharp feature with the stone inside of it, the elliptical stone, but you have to have the special 1/4 inch Pico chain in order for that feature to work. And after the first chain wears out, nobody bought the right chains, so the feature's useless.
Why?
But it's cool. It's a yellow color. It's cool. Yeah. I have a very old 2000 GX 160 power generator, capacitor brushless.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Jim, what is your THD meter? Because you have a link in your tools, right, to buy one of those in your affiliate.
There is a link, yeah, but it's the
Almost $300.
It's the M probe, yeah, the
okay.
AC/DC 52 nav or 54 nav.
There's no other cheaper way to measure THD with any other type of equipment?
No, I mean, you could go to eBay and try to find something used, but it's going to be probably 30 years old.
Okay.
At least when I looked, that's all I saw were some really old flukes that were very primitive compared to the M probe. Which
analog versus digital or what?
Yeah, I don't know technically. I think it was digital, but it was just a very early or old device. So, you know, if you're gonna get one, I would get the amp probe, which is made by Fluke, but it's just the cheaper, more affordable Fluke that doesn't say Fluke on it.
Yeah. And what I'll do, Gary, I know Jim has it, but if there's any links you want to put, just email me and I'll throw them in here. But Jim, I'll put your affiliate links underneath here as well. So anybody that wants to know what Jim uses for certain tools, you can buy them yourself if you like. You know?
Yeah. And
they're in the store.
During your live the other day, copper clad aluminum, we were going back and forth on the text.
With the solder, the flux, or whatever.
I mistakenly said a lead silver alloy. It's actually more of a different alloy altogether. Actually, only a company makes that specifically for bonding aluminum wire to copper or to brass, for example. I know you use for the rotors that you're having problems with. They have a special flux and a special solder that melts at a very low melting point, like 350 degrees Fahrenheit.
And it ain't cheap.
Exactly. It's normal. Regular electronic solder will be 600 to 650 degrees. Lead-free solder is like 750 Fahrenheit, but it's only going to be copper to copper. The problem with aluminum or aluminum, our UK people, is that aluminium.
What about this comment?
Conductive epoxy? I haven't tried it.
I don't think it's
crimp it and then use that.
I don't think it's. I looked into that once. It's not as conductive as you would think.
It does have a resistance. That's the problem.
There is a lot of resistance in it. So what I did was a mechanical connection, which personally I like, although I didn't use the best.
Jim, you were saying you were getting what, 78?
78.
What were you getting?
Yeah.
And what's it normally, like 60 or below?
Between 60 and 70. I have some that test right at 70, but this one was 78.
Okay.
So was it like that before it broke, or was it like that because of the repair? I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's on the high side of okay, and technically it would fail.
And you just check slip ring to slip ring, right, for that?
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem is that aluminum wire or aluminum in general, it oxidizes. So when you start to take a regular solder and put it to copper and then try to melt it to the aluminum, the oxide layer prevents it from bonding. So it doesn't, it makes a mess. So the flux actually keeps it in an airtight environment, so that when you do heat it up, it'll actually bond to it and create a gas tight connection. And that's really the right way to do it.
Yeah, like flux core wire. Well, yeah.
Like the flux alone for a 2 ounce was like $30.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
A small spool for of just the solder, and I think in like a 2 millimeter for like really small wire was like a little over $30 as well. And specifically for copper clad aluminum, really cheap wire that we find in a lot of these generators, that's kind of a specialized repair.
Yeah.
Why bother?
Let me ask you this though: if it's copper clad, can't you solder copper
Yeah,
part of the clad? The problem is I can't get the varnish off
right, without stripping off the
without scraping it.
Yeah.
And if I could get it off without scraping it, then maybe I could use regular solder.
I thought you saw it with the flame, Jim. You did it with the flame. That didn't work.
Yeah, I thought it did because it looked like the varnish caught fire and burned off.
Yeah,
but it was still I couldn't get any connection through it. Like there was still something there making the connection poor. So it wasn't until I scraped the wire where I actually could get a reading on it.
Yeah. I guess this question here, wouldn't it be more of a cost basis? Cheaper to use aluminum to make your windings?
I guess so.
Solid
How much cheaper? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it worth it?
Just that one part. Just that one part where the wires actually meet on the two sides of the rotor, where it breaks from the mechanical centrifugal force.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying the whole winding though, isn't the whole field winding the copper clad aluminum wire?
It's all yeah, it is. And on the cheaper generators they are. Yeah.
And what they don't do for those cheaper generators is that the varnish protects it. It's an insulation, it's an insulator, but then the windings actually are not varnished where they're sealed, and they usually bake them at like 300 or 400 degrees Fahrenheit for a certain amount of time. I forget the temperature, but that prevents them from vibrating and moving around when it's spinning.
Yeah, when they do the epoxy on the end or whatever.
Right, and then eventually what's happening with these cheaper generators is that that vibration causes the mechanical failure.
Well, I notice a lot of them they do something. So like if I tried to unwind the rotor, I wouldn't be able to do it. But all those connections on the end near the slip ring, there is nothing supporting that. And that's one of the things I like. I mean, the nicer generators, they'll fully support that. They'll glue it all in, super high quality. Even the Briggs ones, they don't necessarily glue them in, but they run the wire right along the shaft so that it's not hanging out in space, vibrating. Like they purposely ran it in a very smart way so that it can't break. And I've never had a Briggs, and I'm going to say this carefully because the newer Briggs are Honda Chinese-made clones. The older Briggs and the Generac EXLs, those generators were made in the US. They were made with copper. They were made with care. And they almost never fail. The only one I've seen in a failed state was one where the person bypassed the circuit breaker and probably just overloaded it.
Just melted it? Yeah.
Yeah, he overheated it and melted down. But that was one out of, I don't know, a lot. So, if you make it right, it's not going to break. But these are just cheaply made to the point where you would think maybe they want them to fail because it wouldn't. That's a Briggs one, right?
Yep. Oh man, this thing's heavy.
Yeah, you can see the wire is right. Yeah, I can see it. Turn it a little more the other way. Yeah, see that wire right there?
Oh yeah,
It's right up against the shaft.
Yep. That's the solder joint, right? We're looking at, right? The solder joint.
Yeah, and that's how it connects in.
Yeah.
Whereas the clones, it's
Things like 40 pounds.
it's a lot further away. Which I'll show you a clone, but
That's from a 7000 EXL, by the way.
Oh, in fact, you remind me, Jim. I got to measure the one I took, the G5. Yeah, 5500.
yeah. So this is. I don't know if it's going to come through. Nah, it's kind of blurry, isn't it?
Yeah, you could see it. The big bulb of solder.
But the wire is way on the outside here instead of on the inside. So there's more force on the outside and there's less support.
All you know is it's a good thing they wrapped it 1 or 2 or 3 turns around that thing. So you have
handy. This is what I use to test the generator boards, especially the power regulator boards. I have the brushes actually zip tied here. It's B1342 is the part number. But like I said, this is how it's. Oh, this is how they're sealed.
What are you testing, Garrett?
The power regulator boards on the EXL series specifically, so I can actually test using the.
What are you testing for statically? Are you testing for resistance or?
Well, I got about 7 point something ohms here at the slip rings.
Yep.
Through the brushes, you get like 12, and that basically becomes an electromagnet. And, when I'm testing to make sure that, for current draw, so no load, I'm going to see, probably like 2 amps. At full load, when it's going all the way up for the power regulator board, I'll see like 9 amps, but nothing more than that.
Can you hold that rotor up again for a second?
Oh, you got to
get your workout tonight.
40 pounds.
Oh, I'm assuming.
So that is a Generac rotor.
That's right.
And this is a Briggs rotor. They're the same, right? They're made by the same. Is this when Generac was owned by Briggs, or was this?
Yeah.
I mean, no.
No, wait. Yep.
They're the same. Here, put us both on.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks the same.
And even the fan, the way they route the wire. So, but these are the good ones. Like these things never break.
Yeah, they're built like very well. But they also have the tapered shaft here, which is typical. But you usually find this is actually the cooling fan.
Now, there's no balancing holes in that rotor, right? In that fan?
No. You don't need to balance it.
No.
I know. I'm just so used to balancing stuff. Like aircraft, everything has to be balanced.
I mean, it would probably be good if you did, but for something this small, it probably doesn't matter.
Joe, I would have to go downstairs to my shop, bring it upstairs to the porch. I ain't doing
You do have one.
I do have one. I do. It's the one from Wayne's, yeah.
Yeah.
But
like I said, it comes in handy, especially when I'm testing the generator boards, because I can test on the bench system control boards that run the ignition delay or the low oil sensor, the low idle control, and then also the voltage regulation. And then on the power regulator board that usually sits in the end bell, all that's a very, very simple circuit board, but they charge about $70 for it new. And usually what burns out is the heat sinked silicon controlled rectifier. Once I replace the parts, then I can actually test to make sure that it can handle the load of the actual rotor that it's going to be powering. That way, I don't like when things come back and say, "Hey, it doesn't work." Well, I could test it in a real world environment, even though it weighs 40.
Yesterday, I forgot one thing when I left your place.
What's that?
Those special zip ties with the hole in it, so I could put it back together with the zip tie. I don't
Guess you'll have to come back.
Well, no, I'm thinking, but I'm
actually
thinking, come back and we'll test it with your load tester and all that.
Well, I'm going to check too. There's a chance I have a GP 5500 rotor. I got to go look.
I mean, I'm hoping the epoxy and everything works. I'm going to try it. I'm definitely going to try it.
If you're very careful and clean those wires, like when I did it, I just did it with whatever I had.
Yeah, you had
laying around.
I saw you. Yeah.
But the thing I kind of regret the most is I used a ring terminal. I cut off the ring
off and used the aluminum end.
I used the crimping part.
Yep.
that holds the wire to crimp the wires together.
Yeah.
But if I were to actually do it properly, I would actually order one that's more like almost like more one of those things you put on the end of a cable to keep it from
Yeah,
fraying. It's
lanyard.
more like a
lanyard
cap.
Yeah, lanyard cap. Yeah.
Put the cap on it and have it fit better to the
Yeah.
wires. Like this was kind of loose. Get a nice snug fitting cap, crimp that down, and you're just mechanically keeping the wires together. Like that's all. That's the
And then
goal.
those pieces together, and it's holding.
I didn't solder them. I epoxied
them.
the crimped wires down on the rotor.
That's a great idea, actually. I think that's.
Well, I'm going to try it this weekend, so we'll see.
Although I should send you the link, Gary. There's one part you'd like.
Oh, this.
I did let the magic smoke out.
I'll pick it up again if these
guys.
But
Gary, I still don't get what the hell that smoke was because you didn't see any exit point in the AVR.
No, but it was the AVR.
Oh, it was. Did you take it apart to see where?
No, but that's where the smell was coming from.
It was the cap?
It didn't look like the cap to me.
Yeah.
Was it blowing its top?
No, the cap looked fine. I put an AVR in that it was the traditional banana style or half moon AVR shape.
All right.
But it didn't have the 470 microfarad capacitor. It had like a 300 and something.
390 or 380, something like that. There was a weird one.
It was it might have been 380. It was that the OEM Generac GP5500 had, I think, a 380 capacitor. Yep. And it was acting weird. When I put it under load, the voltage would go up. Like too high, like 30 or 40 volts high under load. And under no load, it was fine. So I'm like, all right, let me try a different AVR. And I'm like, it has a different capacitor on it.
Yep.
And actually, the one that was in the Generac, I'd never seen on a generator of this size. So I'm like, maybe it was the wrong AVR, and that's why the voltage was coming up.
Yep.
So I plugged this one in, started it up, and pulled up the kilowatt, 170 volts. I basically said, ran over and shut it off. And by the time I had shut it off, there was just smoke coming out of the generator.
Oof.
I'm like, uh-oh. It's done.
Booked. Yeah, I mean, you sent me a couple of those generator boards a while back, and one of them, the aftermarket, had like a 380 capacitor, but it was too tall, couldn't fit. So I had to go onto Mauser and find the short, fatty one, just so that it could fit inside the end bell of those Coleman Power Mates.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because I had ordered one of those aftermarket boards for the PowerMate, and it had a tall capacitor.
Yep, that was one.
To make it fit in the PowerMate, I had to drill a hole in the end cover and have the capacitor sticking out. I'm like, who designed this board? Something like that.
Yeah,
where it's longer.
They're called lanyard crimp ends. Yeah.
That
usually go up and down with the
lanyard.
It's usually a coated wire that we use for machine tags.
Yep, they have them in
perfect
too. Yeah, that's what I use to fix one of the Predator generator throttle cables.
I've done that for the kill wire. Yeah,
Gary, go to 128 in that video.
Oh, the smoke show?
Yeah. It was exciting.
Hey,
that's it. It's done.
Emails about the rubber glove yet?
What about rubber glove?
No, it happened Sunday.
What?
Oh, what?
Well,
was someone looking for?
No. Someone commented about when the rubber glove, when you hit it with the Dremel.
Oh, yeah.
And then Jim's sitting there going, it's a thing.
Uncut, live and uncut.
I'm telling you. But I tell you, it pissed off two people. There were two people like, I want editing. One guy in there, Wayne. I'm like,
to be honest, that's why I don't do lives on my channel, because people want the highly edited video where they can see stuff, they can hear stuff, they can
no fluff, no bullshit,
right. And it's like the live is the complete opposite of that. It's real life.
That's preferred. There's always going to be, there's always going to be people that are hypercritical. So
when I do my Saturday show, the first hour is technical. Ask the questions. The second hour, free for all. Honda EM 5000 IS, bad inverter. Ooh, those are expensive, huh?
Yeah, they're very expensive.
Ooh.
Uh,
Isn't the new inverter part like almost as much as the whole generator?
Well, no, the Honda one is actually. I mean, 700 isn't great. Don't get me wrong, but it's not. Oh, I was thinking of an EU 5000. So an EM. Yeah, EMs don't cost quite as much as the EU, but still, I
Are
mean,
they as clean as an EU? I mean, EM or EU?
they
whatever?
should be,
Yeah.
right? It's the same thing. It's just they're a little louder because I think it's probably an open frame, right? The EM. Yeah, I can't answer that question, but if it was, you got to look at what you can buy a new one for versus a used one, versus do you just want to save it from going into the trash? It's very easy to swap the inverter out. You just got to swallow it and pay the money to get the part.
It's just frustrating that the most critical part of a generator is the most expensive. I mean, and you don't have schematics, or a lot of them are put in epoxy resin, not just for security reasons, so people can work on them, but it's also there for vibrational protection because the generator's running. But a lot of times what fails on the inverters is the output transistors, or the even more commonly the filter capacitors that on the input stage. Those are under the most stress because they're seeing a much higher voltage than the output, because the output's being regulated and filtered. But it's so difficult to heat up that epoxy resin just to service them. And if you don't have a schematic, then you can't do anything about it. They would rather sell a brand new $1,300 or crazy expensive inverter unit, because it's not doing just the voltage. It's doing the speed. Someone asked about it earlier in the chat, that the speed of the stepper motor is being controlled by the inverter as well.
I wish it would be nice if you could replace the common components, and it would be nice if they would actually split that out. Like I do the same thing. I work in IT, my day job, and it's like people come up with these great ideas to have one system that does everything, and it's like, guess what? When that one system goes down, your whole company goes down. You're much better off having a separate CDI for Spark, a separate module for inverting, a separate module for, even the DC rectification, or, basically even the engine control. Like it would be nice to have modules so that when one goes out, you don't have to buy all of them. And then, the other thing is too, like they're making money off of you selling the inverter module to fix your machine that you already bought from them. Like honestly, they should be selling that stuff at cost and making that product better, so they don't have to keep selling that at cost.
Yeah. Well, Champion does and Furman do really well with that. I don't think that's their prices for some of their components are that outrageously high compared to, like, say, Yamaha or a Honda, where you're going to spend pretty much 2/3 to more than half the cost of the generator to replace that one unit. I think the Champion inverters they're like less than 1/3 as far as the overall cost of the machine, unless you're getting a really small inverter. The bigger inverters, makes more sense to get those, like the Predator, or even the Predator generators, for example, the 9500 peak watt or the 7600 running watt one. I think the inverter unit on that is only a little above $400 plus shipping from California.
That's great.
And it's not that expensive. And so many people run those Predator inverter generators, but a lot of times that warehouse out in California, they run in a cycle where they run out of parts very quickly because they're waiting for another ocean container from China to restock them in the port of LA. It takes time to get some, like just the combo switch takes like 3 weeks to get that in. They don't.
That's what I've noticed too. Like some of the bigger players, like Yamaha, Honda, even Briggs, you can get parts usually pretty reliably and pretty quickly. But then some of the other, even Generac, but But some of the others like Champion, Predator, they do supply parts, but it's very hit or miss as far as how long it takes or if they have it. And then there's a bunch of others that's pretty much good luck. They have a parts diagram, but they've never actually sold a part. Good luck finding it.
Yeah, and that's the risk that you run with even some of the off brand, like the China brands. They're essentially clones of other machines out there, but then you have to do all the work to kind of cross reference the part that actually is going to fit. It's a lot more work than most people are willing to go through. Even the local shops probably wouldn't want to go and get involved with that because you spend more time.
They wouldn't. It's a lot of time and effort, and it's guesswork. Ultimately, you're hoping that they recognize, all right, this is a clone of that. Let's order the OEM part and see if it fits.
Yeah.
And it may not.
I've always had very good experience with Champion generator. I mean, it takes a little time to get their parts, and there you can, if you really wanted to talk to a technician, even some of the designer technicians that actually built the thing, it's designed in the USA, but it's built over in China, obviously. They'll give you a call back. Same thing with Furman as well. I've had really good experience with that. I'd be more curious on the Duramax and on the Westinghouse, because I think Westinghouse is Ohio. I think they have operations in Ohio, and Duramax, I'm not sure where, but I've heard good things about those companies too. But I can't say I have direct experience with them.
Yeah, I haven't had to either.
No, they're still fairly young in the market. Maybe in the next couple of years we'll see them come in for service more often.
Hey, I was just watching Donny Boy real quick. He just put one out. Look what he got.
Sorry, it's a little messed up on my side. Can you
see it?
What is that? Snow?
Yes.
Yeah, like 3 feet of snow.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, up in Ontario. Yeah. Wait, Ontario, right?
I wish we had snow.
We're supposed to get a little bit later this week.
Thursday, maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Wednesday.
Yeah, it's going to be a mix, though.
It's not going to be a lot.
Like every storm we get now, it's rain, snow, slush.
So you mean the one that's in my driveway now that needs fixing? I better get hopping.
Yeah, the light. Yeah, I mean, my snowblower is ready. I still have to take off the mowing deck, and I probably have to do one more thing of leaf pickup, and then that'll be it for the season.
2.2 capacitors for the 6. Oh, Dana. Sure. I've got to remember which Dana you are. There's 2 Danas. All right, so I got 2. The North Star generator I worked on with the blown engine. As soon as that video aired, I had actually 3 people reach out saying they had generators with Vanguard V twins that did not generate power. I'm welcome, to it, basically. One guy was like in North Carolina. The other 2 were up here. In their name, they both had the same name, Dana. So it was very confusing sending emails at the same time for basically the same engine. So, send them or email me. I haven't had time to start on that project, and honestly, it's probably going to be another month before I can, which is killing me because I really want to work on that North Star again.
Got a lot of projects going on there, James.
Too many.
Let's see. Klaus is saying that Predators are Lifans.
Might be.
Could be. It kind of looks like a Honda clone, but on the 9500 anyway. But I've seen those engines 1,200, 1,500, 1,700 hours, and they're still going strong. Pretty impressive for a $2,300 machine, which is on the cheaper side over here in the United States.
Yeah, all the prices are going to go up with the tariffs, but come on, you're talking a Chinese part. We pay $10 for it. We import it from China for 10 cents. I mean, it's Westinghouse.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. They usually don't have it in the owner's manual. If you have a basic schematic and an owner's manual, most of the time, if you call up the service department, I really enjoy and give a lot of props to companies that offer these, not only the schematics but also a BOM bill of materials.
You were saying Furman. Furman's really good, right?
Furman's really good with that. Yeah, Champion and Furman are very good with that. You know, like another, my channel is also, bass guitars in the back here, and also amplifier companies. There's some amplifier companies that refuse to give you schematics in order to fix their amplifiers. Only their service centers can get access to it.
Speaking of that, where's the Michael Anthony part?
The Michael for those that are wondering, I do know Michael Anthony from Van Halen briefly. Know him through one of his brothers, and I actually have soon to be one of his amplifiers from his Chicken Foot days, and it's supposed to be coming in soon. He's going to sign it for me. He's retiring. Him and Sammy are over in Las Vegas now, but Mike and his brother are out in Southern California at the moment. I do have his amplifier because I used to work for PV here. This is his. You can't see
that. That's a tube amp here.
Yeah, it's a 300 watt all tube amp. I got a couple of those actually, but they only made like 50 of them, and Mike had half of them. So I'm getting one of them that he's signing for me. I'm just waiting for because the logistics of everything, because you're shipping iron and glass. But yeah, but I got the designer, the engineer who made the amplifier, gave me these schematics, gave me the bill of materials, and if I had to fix it, I know how to do it myself, and I have the part list that I can go into Mauser.com and find it. Wow. But tube amps are kind of an old hat, but I love the way they sound and love the way they sound.
Speaking of tube amps, I got this thing here. So
just like records, they sound great.
They sound great. Vacuum tubes or valves, as they like people in the UK say.
Analog, yeah. There's a lot to be said about analog.
Well, yeah.
With digital, you do lose something.
I just it's something that lasts. You're still finding tube amplifiers from like 40, 50 years ago that are still being used today. Maybe not widely in on the touring, or you find them in the studio. But how are you going to fix a $1,700 digital emulator pedal that can make all these different sounds? What's going to happen in 15, 20 years when that needs to be serviced, because everything that's electronics needs to be serviced? It may not make the proprietary chip anymore. They may not make something that's so one-off that it's almost impossible unless you find a donor donor product
like cars.
With an analog tube amplifier. It's off-the-shelf parts. Fix them.
Yep.
That's what I like about it. But yeah, I don't know how we went from generators to that, but yeah.
Anything like that. I mean, I got a 1951 Seaberg jukebox. I love it, and it's monaural. There's no stereo. Stereo didn't come out until 58.
Like I said, it's just that's another hobby of mine that like it's kind of like I'm a Zennial. I'm an early millennial, so I would think a lot of the Gen Z, or I'm sorry, not Gen Z. I want to deal with the Gen Z. Gen X can appreciate the Van Halen years.
Yeah, I'm the last of the baby boomers, so I liked all the old stuff.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're going to end it. It's now over an hour and 38 minutes, so thanks to everybody. And it was good. We had some nice questions out there. I will put the links for all Jim's store and everything in the comments. Gary, if you want anything put in there, just email me and I'll throw that in.
Yep.
Otherwise, I got to get better.
You're sick?
Arch, what's Arch talking about? What is that? 5150.
5150.
That's Van Halen.
Oh, the album. Yeah, the album.
Yep.
And
yeah,
also,
I was a David Lee Roth Van Halen, 80, 81, 78.
Yeah, I was.
You're the Sammy guys. Yeah,
I came in later.
It came in later, when they were a little bit more popular, but you got to respect them both.
Yep.
It's called the 6505 due to copywriting. It's the same amplifier, just different looks. But the 5150 block letter from 1992, big money now, and they shouldn't be going for that much, but because they're more rare, not the reissue, but the original ones.
Yeah. So what you're saying here is, if I see a PV amp at Elephant's Trunk or a flea market, I pick it up.
depends on the amp. Some of them are, dime a dozen. Others are, diamond that you would never usually. It's like
Because my kid plays not bass, but he plays, and I don't know what he knows as far as collectability and all that stuff. But I should ask him. Oh, what's Art? Here he goes. Another musician. Art. She's a musician.
Yeah. Hold on. This is. I'll see if I can. That's the amplifier that's underneath that. Not the Ampeg SVT, but that's the Michael Anthony amplifier underneath that cover here on the side of me.
Nice.
It's a real looker at night, but there was this will be my last thought there, but this is the development, not really a development amp, but it was the first amp that came out that I have as well, that again, not many people had a chance to play.
Oops, sorry. Hold on.
I like the name 404 site not found.
I know, you like that?
I like that.
That's the
blue. Change color gear? Change the color?
No, it's a completely different amplifier. They call it the VB3. They have it, they call the red one the VBMA, Michael Anthony's actual custom, custom with this chili peppers and everything. And the one below it is for you Canada guys up there. I love that amplifier. If you guys know Trainer, I love Canadian amplifiers.
Oh yeah, doubles as a room heater. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's 12 valves in there.
Yeah,
that's a lot. Actually, somebody asked this question, and this I could tie this conversation back into generators. Yes, you can run a tube amplifier off of a generator as long as the voltage is stable, because again, all that power is going to be converted to DC
it's heat anyway.
Yeah, but does it have to be an inverter?
Oh, it doesn't. I've had no problems running it off my Generac. I mean, I have a smaller tube amp and it worked fine.
That sounds good, Dan. No, I'm going to get a cup of tea that I didn't get this morning from the store.
Yeah, you've had a lot of problems with getting your tea.
Oh my God! Well, then they had Bigelow on sale, $4 for a 40 packs. I bought 2 of those. I'll make my own.
Sure with the honey, you make sure it's local honey, because it has the local pollen. It'll help you with the allergies.
Oh, believe me, I've seen those Chinese videos about what honey, what they do to honey. Oh my God, unless you buy the locally grown, you don't know what you're getting.
But it's turned into a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon story here.
All right, that'll be it, guys. We gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta see if I can get some sleep, get some tea in me, and go from there. But appreciate you, Jim and Gary, and everybody out there. It was a great time. And Jim, hopefully we'll do another breakfast run and get that generator going once I get it all together, and we'll see what's up with that. All right. So
we will definitely.
Yeah. See you, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it. Take care, everyone.
See ya.